Today we are talking about helping and how helping others actually helps us. Welcome back to your Emotional Support Podcast. I'm your host, Noelle. Today we are diving into the feel-good science behind helping others and how it actually boosts our self-worth. We also want to talk about making sure that this help is coming from a healthy place and not people pleasing, because that is not good for us. So hopefully today you walk away with a few ideas for helping others and helping yourself in the process. So let's start out with talking about why helping others actually makes us feel better. So acts of kindness release real feel-good chemicals like oxytocin, serotonin, and dopamine. And so those are those chemicals in our brain that make us feel good, that give us that uplifting feeling. Okay, those are actual chemicals that they prescribe for people who are feeling depressed. So it's scientifically proven. So also helping others makes us connect to a purpose, a belonging, and impact. And I talk about this in my book about, how important it is to have a purpose and to feel that connectedness. So this is super huge because helping others gives us all of these things, and it also makes us feel like we are making an impact. It also reminds us that we have value, that we can contribute, and that we matter, which are all good things and all things that we need reminders of every now and then. So studies have shown that volunteering is linked to lower depression rates, higher life satisfaction, and increased self-esteem. When we support others, we subconsciously remind ourselves that we're capable, that we're worthy, and we're part of something bigger. Okay? And it doesn't even have to be like volunteering. It can just be like helping your neighbor, when they're shoveling snow and you realize that they're having a difficult time with it, and you go over and, give them a hand, and it cuts the work in half, right? It can just be something little that you're helping somebody else do. It doesn't have to be like a grand gesture of, volunteering somewhere and like official, making it like official or whatever, even though that's great too. But it doesn't have to be that grandiose, I guess is the point I'm trying to make. Okay, so now let's talk about the fine line between helping people and people pleasing. Okay, we don't want to lose ourselves or give up who we are or parts of ourselves in order to help people. We want to help people because we want to help people, not because we want to make them like us or, things like that. So honestly, sometimes helping turns into overgiving or losing ourselves. And we don't want that to happen. We don't want self-worth to mean self-sacrifice. Helping others shouldn't mean abandoning your own needs. Okay, so if you are helping people and you notice, I'm going to give you some helping red flags. Okay, so things to look out for, which might mean that you are moving towards the people pleasing side of things. If you're saying yes to things out of guilt, okay, if somebody's asking for help and you're only saying yes because you feel guilty, that is not helping. That is people pleasing. Okay, you shouldn't feel guilty or shouldn't be helping because you feel guilty. Okay, if you feel resentment after you're helping or even during the time that you're helping, that is people pleasing. Okay, if you feel resentful for the things that you've done, for whatever reason, like because they don't reciprocate or whatever, then that's not helping you. And in turn, it's not actually helping them. Like it's superficially helping them, but it's not really helping them. Okay. If you feel like you're helping to prove your worth instead of expressing it, that is also a big red flag. Okay, so what does that mean? That means that you are helping somebody to prove to them that they need you instead of just helping to be helpful. Okay, those are two very different things. If you are inserting yourself in situations and kind of assuming what other people need or what help they need, then that is helping to prove your worth instead of just being there for people. Like if you, I'm trying to think of a good example of this. Like if I don't know, somebody is sick and you go, maybe they had surgery. Okay, let's try that. Someone your friend had surgery and you want to help them. So you offer to clean out their shed. Okay, well, they didn't really need their shed cleaned out, but you want to, that's what you want to do. So you assume that they need their shed cleaned out because every time you've gone over there, they've talked about how dirty their shed is or whatever. You're assuming, okay? When actually you could ask them, like, hey, what do you need? Like, I'd like to help clean something, or I'd like to help, you organize something. What do you need the most help with? And then doing it because they need it, not because it's what you think they need. Okay? You're not doing it to prove that they need you or to prove that you're worthy. You're doing it because you want to be helpful. So I guess the main idea of that is don't assume to know what other people need or what help they need. Have that conversation about what do you need. Yes, there are instances when maybe you shouldn't have that conversation. Like if somebody, if you do like a food train or whatever for somebody who's sick, yeah, you're not gonna. Maybe you might ask them what they want, but there are times when maybe just the simple gesture of doing something is enough. But I guess my point here is like don't just assume to know what other people need. Okay, that was a lot. All right. But then also like healthy helping comes from fulfillment, not from fear. Okay, so you are helping in a healthy way and it feels good. It feels like it's coming from a good place. Healthy helping does not feel like if you don't help that something bad is going to happen, that somebody's going to be judging you, or that there's a disclaimer or judgment that follows along with that helping. Okay, help others from your overflow, not from your last drop. Okay, you've seen this before. Like you can't fill someone else from your empty cup, or whatever that saying is. Okay, you need to make sure that you're in a good place and that you are good before you are giving to others, because otherwise then becomes that resentful helping. It becomes that sacrificial helping that is not healthy for us. All right, so how does helping others build our own sense of self-worth? So we talked about that science piece, but also helping others reminds you that you have something to offer. You have something to bring to the table. You can make a difference, right? Helping others reminds us that we matter, right? It also reminds us that we are connected to others, that we have that connectedness. Okay. And when you're just people pleasing, like those feelings, that connectedness, that doesn't happen because people are just kind of taking advantage of you, or they don't appreciate what you're doing because you're just doing it to kind of, ooh, look at me, look at what I can do for you. So you don't get that sense of connectedness. But when you're really helping others from a good place, then you get that connected feeling. You get that feeling that you're making a difference and that you have something to offer. So how can you help without losing a piece of yourself? You can write a note or text somebody when you're thinking about them. Like that is so simple, and it doesn't lose any part of you, just to like let somebody know like, hey, I'm thinking about you. Or, like I was at a bookstore once and I saw, this, I don't know, those little card meme things or whatever. And I thought of one of my good friends and I sent her a picture of it and was like, this made me think of you. Love you. Just something simple like that that lets people know that you're thinking about them is huge. You can volunteer an hour of your time for something you care about. Like I said, it doesn't have to be grandiose. It doesn't have to be like, you're committing every Saturday morning to a soup kitchen or something like that. Although that's great and wonderful. And if you have the opportunity to do that, go ahead, please. We need so many more people like that. But, it just, dedicate an hour of your time to going and doing something that maybe nobody would even notice, but that that you did. Like even just that, even just helping in a way that might not get you accolades, that is still going to help you feel good. Okay? Even if it's just sitting and listening, like really listening to a friend, just sit and have a glass of wine or a glass of tea or, whatever, and just listen to somebody, listen to a friend, and let them know that you care about them. That's huge. And you're not giving of anything except your time. But that is still worthy. Your friends notice when you give them your time, even if it's just time. And then just offering encouragement. If somebody posts on Instagram that they're, building a fire pit with their husband, you could just be like, you rock, like you are amazing. Which, side note, that is something that I'm doing right now, and I hope that our marriage survives. I'll let you know. My husband and I have a very different way of going about projects. And so it's a lot of times just kind of figuring out how to work together is our biggest challenge when we do projects together. But sorry, that's a side note. But yeah, just taking on something, and like I said, even just doing it anonymously with no validation required. Like that is the goal here, is to not get that pat on the back. That's not what we're doing it for. We're doing it to honestly help someone else, and then that will in turn make us feel better. Okay, so wrapping up, helping others can remind us who we are. We're kind, capable, needed. We are enough. Okay, so here's your challenge this week. Do one intentional act of kindness. Just one. It can be small, it can be huge, it can be something like, again, that no one except you would even notice. Okay, afterwards, write it down. Write about how it made you feel. And remind yourself that you made an impact. And that impact came from your worth, not an obligation. Okay? It was not an obligation. It was something that you enjoyed doing, that you wanted to do. All right, so here is your tip of the day that you didn't ask for but definitely need. The light you shine on others always reflects a little bit back on you. Let it remind you how much you matter, because you do. Next week we are talking about the power of perspective, and changing your perspective and not just taking things for granted that they are as they come. It's a good one, as they usually are in my opinion. Have a great week, everybody. I am so glad you're here.